The following program is intended for mature audiences.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, Lord Christ.
Andrew Stevens and Shannon Tweed, Dream Lovers. Tonight on Flesh Wound After Dark. I am Flesh Wound Dan, joined as always by producer Todd.
The disgusted producer, Todd. I can watch you bouncing around in the intro to the music. I'm like, this motherfucker.
True story. I run a dance studio. That is a well-established fact on other streams.
Didn't they do a Netflix show about that, Dan?
I don't know. They might have.
Or maybe it was a pageant show. I'm getting confused with that.
Damn it, Todd. I don't watch a lot of dance shows, Todd. But,
just pageant shows.
But yes. Got the Mirror Ball trophy. We talked about that on friend of the show, Cable Channel 11. Look it up. Well known. Master of the Paso Doble. That's me. So we are here tonight to review another Skinmax double feature for Illicit Dreams and Indecent Behavior 4, aka Human Desires, which we'll get into. And these are big ones. Anytime you have Shannon Tweed and Andrew Stevens in the mix, that's kind of considered top shelf erotic thrillers. So we'll get right into it with Illicit Dreams from 1994 and directed by Andrew Stevens, as well as starring. This film, Moira Davis dreams extremely vividly of an affair with Nick Richardson, a man whom she doesn't know but shares the same long-term dream. She soon learns that there's a dark force trying to tear them apart. So Illicit Dreams. Before I get into it, just to talk about the cast, Andrew Stevens and Shannon Tweed, we've talked a lot about previously on this show. We get a really great villainous performance from Joe Cortez, who plays Daniel Davis, the evil husband of Shannon Tweed, in this one, which I'm sure he was a Todd favorite. In this movie. We also have Michelle Johnson, who plays the best friend of Shannon Tweed, who's trying to get her away from the beautiful Joe Cortese. Is it Joe Cortese or Cortez? I might be saying that wrong. I'm going to say Cortez. But Michelle Johnson, she was in a lot of big movies. She played China in Waxwork. Death Becomes Her, Dr. Giggles. She played one of the main roles in Blame It on Rio. She was also in like big budget stuff, big Hollywood stuff like Far and Away. She kind of jumped back and forth from more B movie titles to the big Hollywood titles. She was in Glimmer Man with Steven Seagal. But she was also in stuff like Beaks the movie and Specimen, the Mark Paul Gosselaar Species knockoff, or Moving Target with Michael Dudikoff. A lot of fun B movies there.
Don't forget, also released in 1994, Menendez, A Killing in Beverly Hills.
There you go. So a lot of good movie memories with Michelle Johnson. I always like to highlight at least some of the great character actors that appear in this movie. We also get Stella Stevens as Cicely, the psychic in this one. So that another notable name here. So this one's pretty heavy on the romance. It is an erotic thriller. Joe Cortez, he is a fantastic villain. in this. He's very, very unlikable, and makes this pretty interesting. There's a scene where he kind of makes Shannon Tweed blow him, and they don't like show anything, but then they cut to her like with a disgusted look, like gargling mouthwash. So it's supposed to be upsetting, but it was kind of funny. And you knew he was a bastard when Shannon Tweed's character comes home and he's like banging his secretary slash mistress, and he hears her like pull in, and it doesn't stop him. He keeps like fucking the secretary, like, yeah, whatever. And she knows. She doesn't walk in on them per se, but he's just like banging her like right there. And they set this guy up as a real son of a bitch villain. Yeah. And then what made it even a bigger heel move, the next morning, he makes her make coffee for them. It was like, I was like, God damn.
In my day, we just called that pimping.
So in between all of this like psychological fuckery that he's putting her through, Michelle Johnson's character is trying to get her to get a divorce and walk away, but he's a very corrupt guy who's connected with a lot of like criminal types. He's bought half the town, half the city, cops, judges. Like, he's just a tough guy to get away from. So they visit Stella Stevens, who is the psychic, and she's aware of these long-term dreams that apparently she's always had of Andrew Stevens' character, and sex dreams, but then something kind of like always happening to sort of pull them apart and back to reality. So she becomes aware. Eventually she meets Andrew Stevens, and that kind of kicks off our erotic thriller in this case. Pretty, aside from like some of the stuff that the husband puts her through, I'd say fairly couple friendly. It is essentially a romance. There's more time spent on that than you would normally see in this kind of movie. You get some great Shannon Tweed skin in this, as you would always expect from her in these movies. She delivers on that. Some of the dream sequences might get a little repetitive after a while. It's like I just focus on just the actual sex scenes of the meat and potatoes for me. It's got all that the love montage with the music and everything. Yeah, we don't always get that mushy, I suppose, with these movies, but this one does go there. But man, it really works, I think, because of the villain. I kept picturing it as Leo Rossi. Imagine Leo Rossi in this role, and Joe does a fantastic job. But man, this was like something I gotta think Leo Rossi said no, and he was the second choice. Make me some coffee. So yeah. Some unpleasant things happen to Shannon Tweed in this, but as always, you get a good display of her assets, and a surprise ending. Actually, the ending was not what I was expecting it to be. What did you think, Todd? Did you enjoy Illicit Dreams?
I did. You brought up our villain. I think he is the highlight of the film, Joe Cortez. It's probably my least favorite of all the Tweed Stevens movies together, and I think it is, probably because it does go the more romantic route. But yeah, the Cortez makes it so watchable. It doesn't matter. It's such a good time whenever he shows up. Not
some
my
suspense
favorite
too, like some decent suspense.
It's not my favorite of the erotic thrillers, or like I said, even of hers. But I think it's worth a watch. I think, for the villain alone.
It is. And some of the like vaguely supernatural type elements to it, I can see that not necessarily playing for everybody, but when the blackmail and double crossing and all of that kind of kicks in, I think it satisfies everything you could want out of an erotic thriller. And again, it's mushy at times, but it's also very fucking downbeat. It really is. He's a very sinister villain, and I could see mixed feelings about the ending. I'm curious for any first time watches. I've seen this before, but like when you watch something like this as a teenager, you don't retain the plot. I remember other things about it, so it holds up though. It's a solid film if you're a fan of Andrew Stevens and Shannon Tweed, who obviously had a lot of chemistry. It's why they did so many movies together. I do recommend you check it out. So for this one, for me, I kind of want to go a little bit higher, but I'm a 3.5. It's a strong recommendation, but there might be some mixed feelings on it. What say you, Todd?
I'm a 3. I'm a solid 3 on this one.
Sweet. And I probably should have said this at the top of the show, but this particular double feature, neither of these are cut. So you don't have to hunt down another version of either film to see it uncut. Which, if you're just watching this episode, we're reviewing all of these. So if you go back, we have information on which ones are cut, how you can find the uncut version. So be sure to check that out, because hopefully we got a lot more of these Skinmax double feature DVDs coming. I've been loving it. So next up is our second film of this set, which is the 1997 Ellen Earnshaw directed film Indecent Behavior 4, which you can also more likely, at least previously, find it under the title Human Desires. Now, if you go back on our channel, we reviewed the 3 official Indecent Behavior movies on an episode, and you can find information about that. This was a case where they threw Indecent Behavior 4 on it just because Shannon Tweed was in it. And I'll talk a little bit more about that, but this really has no connection to it. So, I mean, honestly, Human Desires kind of makes more sense as a title.
And I don't even know if it was released in the US as Indecent Proposal 4 until now.
I had it as Human Desires. I know that.
And and that's the physical. I think it was overseas. I know it was in some markets. I just thought it was a weird choice to do it and call it that now. But I guess, if you're, I think that's probably a title people are more apt to check out than Human Desires now. Makes it a little harder to find it, though, if you want to find
it. Absolutely. But you're covered either way.
Exactly.
Same thing. So in this film, we follow when PI Dean Thomas is hired by a model's best friend and professional rival to prove that the model's suicide was actually a murder. He starts to realize just how dangerous the world of fashion can be. To talk a little bit about the cast before we get into the movie. So Dawn Ann Billings, who plays Zoe Taylor, the friend and lover of the murdered Julia, she is actually known for Warlock the Armageddon, the second Warlock film with Julian Sands, and Trancers 3. Very beautiful lady. And her lover / friend, Peggy Trentini, she has a lot of credits. She was in Poison with Carrie Werr, which is an erotic thriller cash in on the Poison Ivy series, something that I know we'll cover at some point on the channel. Love me some Carrie Wurr. She was also in the Lady Chatterley's Stories softcore series. She was in Virtual Combat with Don the Dragon Wilson. Also Masseuse 3 and Virtual Desire, some more softcore titles. Ghoulies 4, everybody's least favorite Ghoulies movie. And she also had a role in Tales from the Crypt Demon Knight, where I believe she's one of the girls that gets naked in front of
Dick Miller.
Dick Miller. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. So know those titties. So the first thing I will say about this, Shannon Tweed, although she has top billing, this is not a Shannon Tweed movie. She's very much a supporting role here. This is more of a Christian Noble who plays our PI character, and Dawn Ann Billings movie. They make up the bulk of the screen time in this one. And so like we kick things off. There's a launch of a new clothing line, I believe it was, at this pajama party theme that Shannon Tweed's character is throwing. There's a lot of sex going on. We get our very, very hot lesbian scene with Peggy Trentini and Dawn Ann Billings, which is a Dan favorite. That is definitely the spicy scene of the movie. And then we get our murder at this party. And so we kind of kick it off. There's also a lot of cocaine and lesbians. Kind of sums up the beginning of this movie. And we get our sort of down on his luck private eye Dean, who's contacted by Julia, contacted by Zoe, because she does not believe that Julia killed herself, and sliced up in the pool. And spoiler alert, she didn't. Obviously, there's treachery afoot. I really like this one. It's got that classic erotic thriller storyline. Again, we talk about the roots of these films. It all goes back to classic film noir, the gumshoe detective and the beautiful woman that comes in and convinces him to take this case. I really like that. Also, a pretty solid story. There's some twists and turns in this one that I thought that held your interest in between all of the softcore shenanigans, which again, I love. Dawn Ann Billings is gorgeous. Peggy Trentini, even though her character passes at the beginning, there's still a lot of flashback nudity from her. So Dawn and Peggy, I think, deliver on the goods when it comes to the erotic content. And we still see some from Shannon Tweed too. Like I said, just don't go into this expecting Shannon Tweed as the lead, because she's not. But
and that title makes it a little bit more misleading too, because she was the lead in those.
It does very much. That was just tacked on.
There was a reason we didn't cover it in the first one.
There is a reason. So Todd, what did you think about this one? Because I think this is really just kind of like the perfect example of what an erotic thriller is.
Yeah, it is. And I get why they pushed Shannon Tweed, because that was like the name in erotic thrillers at the time. So I don't remember exactly what year I saw this, but if I would have saw this in my teenage years, I probably would have been disappointed with the lack of Tweed. Now, as an adult rewatching it, it doesn't bother me. I've seen plenty of Shannon Tweed in my years. So we just get, like you said, it's very, it has its roots in the film noir, and this one, really leans into that. And you're right, it is the perfect example of an erotic thriller. Maybe not the best, but it is a perfect example.
It is. It's erotic thriller in its purest form. But I thought the story was really solid. And again, as we get to the late 90s, there is like there's certainly a decrease in budget, if not quality. Now there's a lot of softcore stuff for sure that I still enjoyed going into the 2000s. But the erotic thriller starts to decline. At least the direct to video erotic thriller. There was still some really cool stuff that we would even get in theaters back then, but this I think is well above average for the what we were getting at that time. And
for the late 90s, yes, this is a step above.
Yeah, the erotic thriller kind of like, at least as far as like that Skinmax type and HBO erotic thriller, we were really getting by the late 90s. It was just more like, let's just thin plot and just fill it with total bump and grind. These were still trying to be movies at the same time. Again, I love that other stuff, but
you can feel the shift from being video store content to cable content.
Yes. Yes. And I well, you saw that firsthand. And yeah, this is kind of getting towards the end, because Shannon Tweed kind of called it in the early 2000s. She just sort of stopped. Although she always maintains it wasn't a matter of her like quitting is in terms of acting.
The calls just stopped.
Yeah, which is wild, because look at her now. Like, she still had plenty of time to be doing these kind of movies.
I'll watch her in tomorrow.
Yeah, I'll watch her in one right now. I told you.
She stays out of it. I've seen it act.
Expendables of erotic thrillers. We need that. Yes, Andrew Stevens' ball sack is probably to his kneecaps at this point, but you know what? That's fine. You still have to be in there. There might be a little bit of sagging going on, but I want the Expendables of erotic thrillers. Shannon Tweed is 66 years old, Tad. And she does not look dramatically different than what she did in 1997. That is insane. She has been with Gene Simmons for almost 41 years. What a lucky bastard.
Well, he had an advantage.
I was going to say, if one thing stops working, he's,
Yeah, I don't think
he's covered. He's covered. My tongue is bigger than the standard penis. I'm good.
If she bobbits him, she's not going for the dick.
I was gonna say, can you imagine a tongueless like Gene Simmons like go out looking for it? Oh man, she just grabs it and just slices it off. You could just picture out in the field, you got like John Wayne Bobbitt like holding his blood stump, and then it was like, bad day, huh?
As long as they don't mix them up and they attach the wrong things on the wrong ones.
Yeah, it's a bad day. Fucking bitches, man.
Nan's gonna get hate mail from lispy people now.
That wasn't a lisp impression. That was a tongueless impression. So.
I know, but
you got Cody Rhodes just wants to beat my ass.
That motherfucker.
He's gonna hit me with the roll through crossroads sequence. Like, I'm not just getting one, I'm getting all three. So anyways, enough of our nonsense. Indecent Behavior 4, aka Human Desires. I'm giving this one 4 stars. I really, really like this one, and I like that. I really do like it in that film noir detective kind of origin. I do enjoy those a lot. So 4 stars, and once again, you're covered on the erotic content with Dawn Ann Billings and Peggy Trentini, but Shannon Tweed has scenes also, so you get to see her naked.
I am a 3.5 on this one. Like I said, I agree with Dan. It does nail the erotic thriller, but it's not my favorite. So I'm a 3.5.
That works. That works. So yes, once again, this one totally uncut on both movies, so you're good to go there. And be sure to check out all our other erotic thriller reviews and Skinmax double feature reviews. We're one of very, very few channels that covers any of this, which is sad because these were so fucking popular back in the day that we have to keep the memory of the erotic thriller and old school late night cable softcore alive.
Well, I see, after we Kill for Love, I do see a lot more people giving the genre some love. I even seen people talking about making their own erotic thrillers now on the low budget. I'm in.
I'd like to see that come back. I mean, again, a lot of people have that false view that it was all just, simulated adult film stuff. It's not. Like these movies had stories. I think they hold up very well. I think they play well for people that aren't used to them. I think a lot of women watch these.
I'm sorry, Dan, some of that modern erotic thrillers that were on cable kind of hurt the reputation of the actual erotic thrillers.
I mean, I get that because again, you did see that change as you got late into the 90s, but I think a lot of women enjoy these. A lot of women don't like the hardcore stuff. I mean, I'm not, some do, but I think there's a market for like sexy films like this that you can watch when you don't want all the, like face mayo and
Dan was prepping for it. What are you doing, Dan? Don't aim it at your face. I mean, come on.
I don't know what to do on YouTube. They don't like the blowjobbing, Tad. Ladies don't like to see that.
Well, then why did you just aim it?
I don't know. That's like the signal. It's a signal, Tad. I don't know. And I don't know if I'm supposed to do the signal, so I was just waving. That's all. So yes, we've covered a good chunk of Shannon Tweed's output. Not everything yet.
More. There's still a couple.
Yeah,
still a couple I'm looking forward to.
With her, I definitely want to also tackle like some of the action stuff she did too, because she wasn't strictly.
Well, we got Flesh Wound Fists for that.
Flesh Wound Fists. Yes.
So far, retroactively we have 2 episodes because I realized I never updated the artwork for Indiana Jones, so now it's also a fist.
Oh, okay. Sweet. So yes, guys, be sure to tune in next time and come again. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Good night, ASMR Dan.
Dream of me.
All right,
Dan Scenario.
Oh, Jesus.